Welcome everyone to the RMI Power Up uh, Q3 session. We'll give it a few moments here, probably another 20 seconds, and then we'll get started with today's content. All right, well, let's get started. Well, welcome everyone to the RMI Power Up on this wonderful Wednesday. For those of you that are serial Power Up attendees, thanks for joining us again. If this is your first time, we hold these Power Up webinar events every quarter on a variety of topics relevant to resource management. So we hope to see you at future events. But today we'll be diving into a topic I think you'll find valuable, whether you're a leader helping with career path builds in resource management or an individual contributor kind of looking for career paths. We've got a little something for everyone today. Before we charge into that agenda and introduction, I want to lift up and thank our sponsors for today, BI and Cantata, both of whom offer software solutions to assist with resource management. So please check them out. More information about each and how to reach them will be available at the end of the webinar today. And so our topic today is from role to roadmap, building career paths in RM. And so we'll go through some brief introductions before we dig into kind of why do we need career paths and what is the RMI seeing through its research that would rise to the level of us needing, a power up session like this. So we'll then talk about kind of ways in which career paths for resource management are essential. We'll dig into that quite a bit. And then how one might go about developing one. We'll end with some RMI resources available to you that can support kind of not only your own career development path, but also if you're looking to kind of build those for other colleagues or for direct reports. So some pretty exciting stuff here today. So I'll remind, you'll notice here that if we have questions, we do have a Q&A button in your Zoom session. Please submit those through that if you have questions. We'll see if we've got time at the end to address some of those. If not, we'll follow up with you offline after the event. So to get into things, my name is Greg Hensley. I'm a director with the RMI. I've spent 15 plus years in professional services leadership prior to joining the RMI a few years ago. But during that time, I had the opportunity to also lead resource management functions and also manage one at another company. So you might see me instructing the resource management certified professional program, consulting on different topics, or speaking at a variety of industry events. So a variety of ways in which you might see me about in the industry and talking about things. But it's really kind of now my pleasure to introduce my co-presenter from Evolve HR Consulting Group, which is Kira Childers, to share a little bit more about her story. Kira, go ahead.
Thanks, Greg. So hi, everybody. I'm really excited to be here today. I have been a learning and development professional for quite some time. And primarily my experience has been with tech and tech-enabled companies, but I've worked with lots of other organizations as a consultant. So I've done a variety of different roles within training, organizational development, and general HR, but my passion is really driving employee engagement, leadership growth and development, and talent management. So I've worked with a variety of different organizations to look at career pathing for a variety of different roles. So I'm really excited to be joining Greg today for this topic.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you.
Kira will be a great attribute as we start to talk through some of the content here later. But let me first kind of walk through a little bit about the RMI. So since 2016, the RMIs have been dedicated to the advancement of resource management through, our best practices and standards, such as the just-in-time resourcing, or JITR for short, we call it. We've also done market research and benchmark data, some of which we'll show you here today. To help steer kind of what's the direction, where's the trends, where's things going. I will quickly mention we've got actually a new research survey posted to our site today titled Next Gen Resource Management Solutions. So please take a look at that. It's underneath our research practices area. It's a wonderful new research item that we're digging into. So take a look at that one. We'll also conduct industry events. So not only do we hold these webinars such as Power Ups, but we're also hold thought leadership sessions, in-person events such as RMGS, as well as virtual events such as RMI Connect that's coming soon. And then lastly, just ongoing education that we produce in the resource management space, whether it be certification on RM or even just growing your soft skills, in the role. We certainly have it all. But we would hope that you'd kind of take a look at those things. And a way to do that is by joining, and I encourage you to join the RMI. It's free. You can do that here today by scanning the QR code that I've got on the screen, or you can visit the website noted at the bottom and just simply click on the join or the blue join button at the top to become part of the RMI and get some views into a lot of this information that we'll be talking about today. So I think it'll be super helpful for you. So to walk into kind of today's topic, I want to first talk about kind of what are the benefits of career path development. And so not only just for the person or for the resource manager in this case, but also for the organization. So resource managers stand to benefit from better, career growth and recognition, as well as growth, knowledge, skills, and abilities. You also can look at increased strategic influence. That's something that we talk about a lot is the RMI. And then even more important is just this adaptability to change. That's a tough one. And that could come at you a bunch of different ways, whether it's the organizational structure, whether it's merger acquisition situations, or it could be just a change in role. So those are ways in which career path development can certainly help you. On the organization side, it can certainly help with driving better employee engagement, also looking at better data-driven decisioning, helping you kind of learn a little bit more of the analytical side of this, if that's part of your career path journey. And then also reducing delivery team turnover and attrition. So if we do our job well as resource managers and as a resource management function, hopefully we'll see that kind of make its way into the organization where we're starting to see not only good career path development within our own organization, but also that's leading to more satisfied contributors to our service delivery organization as well. But that's not the entire story. Kira will share a bit more about what's occurring kind of in the broader workforce and kind of why does career development matter.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Greg. So we have some statistics here to share with you, and these are fairly easily available. You can look around and find them. But career development is really key for retention. 94% of employees said they would stay at a company longer if it invested in their career development. Our next one here. We can click through. The number one reason employees leave a job is lack of career advancement. And then organizations that provide career development discussions at least twice a year have higher engagement scores by 30 to 40%, which is really significant. So what we see at a lot of companies is folks are excited, they come in into a role, they learn a whole bunch of stuff, and then they just sort of feel stagnant after that. They may not understand the path for them. They may not see how things that they're being assigned is helping them grow. And so as leaders, a lot of times leaders think that they're doing these things. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that here shortly. But the important part is making sure that your folks understand, if you have a path for them, that they're on it and what they're doing. And then if you don't have a path, that's something that you're working to develop. They need to see that there is some type of vision and growth for their role in order for them to stay happy and engaged at your organization.
Yeah, so really good stuff. Some profound information that'll kind of then steer into our next section, which is, what have we as the RMI learned about career paths? And so our research tells us over the past 7 years that the ARMs are consistently citing low levels of defined career paths. We saw a small bump in 23 that got us excited, and we attributed that really kind of to the post-COVID trends around employee retention focus. But then earlier this year through the 2025 survey, we noticed a drop back to that kind of regular range of 30%. So this prompts a few thoughts that, we're continuing to explore, which is this reflective of the RM continuing to mature as a discipline? Could it also be that RM roles are cross-functional, that they're so cross-functional that maybe someone seeking to produce career paths just aren't sure where to start? And so where we can kind of draw a center line is continuing to, demonstrate the strategic value, organizational goal alignment, any kind of ongoing advocacy that can certainly help clarify these questions as we move forward. But let's kind of flip to the other side of that, because the previous one that I just showed you was just for leaders. And so now we're going to, or sorry, for resource managers. Now I'm going to flip to just leaders. And so this one's kind of interesting. The proportion of RM leaders versus resource managers that we saw on the previous slide are telling us that, hey, we're defining career paths. What are you guys talking about? Now, it's not super great. It's showing that it's 50% on average saying, hey, yes, we do this. But here's the big question that we've got is, are they communicating it?
Right.
And are they communicating the value of that to their RMs? And so why does RM leadership think that career paths are defined, but RMs don't? Almost 70% of them are saying they're not. So these are some of the kind of the queries that we're getting into as we start to explore some of this. So if we dive just a little bit lower into kind of what are the content sources that are being used to develop RMs, first, the thing that we're happy to see as the RM is that they can agree on something, that responses are have been consistent for quite some time, that the need to pursue RMCP training is out there. So we certainly see that. But there's also a significant amount of internal training attributed to RM learning and development. So we have some work to do when the 70% of RMs say they do not have a career path, and when the sources for training them are kind of ready-made available via the RMI today that you can utilize. And then some of what we're also talking about here today with career paths, we'll start to walk you through that. And so we're hoping that, in 2 years from now, our research will start to show some change, hopefully attributed to those of you that attended this webinar. So the other thing that we want to understand a little bit more too is, as we're talking about this career path journey, why it's there, what's the importance behind it, there's another piece behind it that we're looking at, which is tell us why, again, that this is so important. And what we're now perspective, 76% of organizations are declaring at different levels it's hard to find RMs. So what does that produce as an alternative? Well, we're either building from within or we're hiring and then developing, which all then points back to the need for career paths. And so the leaders, even though they say that they're doing great, we're still not seeing it on the other side, and we need to see kind of both sides come together. And according to Gallup, it costs the company about 1/2 to 2 times the employee's annual salary to replace them. And that's rather conservative. So turnover is a huge expense for employees, so it's certainly employers. So it's important that we've got these plans in place to direct their growth as resource managers. And we're going to talk about that here today. Another piece that we're looking at is, what is your primary role and experience to becoming a resource manager? So this is something to consider as you construct career paths. And Kira will show you this shortly. The supply of RMs may be coming from different situations, but there are still foundational learnings required to do the job. And so what skills are those managers seeking? And this is something that we've been talking about for quite some time as the RMI. These top 3 have been there for quite a few years, which are the soft skills, leadership skills, as well as deep process management knowledge around resource management. We're seeing this often. And so when we think about these 2 pieces of data, we're coming from different experiences into these roles. Do we have these career paths to guide us where we need to be in order to be effective RMs? And are we ingraining certain skills or certain learnings that we're showing here on the right-hand side of the screen into that training and into that career pathing?
Right.
And
And a
so,
lot of those things
go
are,
ahead.
can I just interject really quick, Greg, if you want to go back to that
Go ahead.
slide?
Yeah,
A lot of these things here are very foundational to all of the roles that you see over on the left. So one thing I'm going to talk a little bit about here shortly is the concept of a lattice. So, you may have somebody who is currently in project management but finds resource management attractive. That's more of a lateral move for them, with just some supporting knowledge. Or maybe you have a resource manager who is interested in operations in some way. That might also be a little bit more of a lateral move with just some different skills attached. So we can look at this and where our resource managers come from, and we can also imagine this as where might they go if you want to retain them in somewhat of a different role, if that's part of their growth plan and maybe the plan for your company to retain them.
exactly. And so, Kira segued right into what she was going to talk about here, which is awesome. So, so the thing that we really wanted to leave you with today, and so this is really cool, is how do I start to begin to develop these career paths? What does one look like for my particular role? So, Kira is going to take you through some of that, and so I'll transition over to yours. The floor is yours, Kira.
All right, thank you, Greg. So Over here, we have our little example of Donkey Kong. We can see a little bit of a ladder and a lattice here in this photo. You also see some barrels rolling and things on fire and things that are a little crazy, which is exactly what you're going to see as you start to construct these in your own organization. Um, so looking at a ladder, obviously that is a formal organizational process that's designed to encourage a upward level projection or progression from that entry level or beginner level to a higher level, whatever that might look like. A lattice, however, is more of a method for enabling an employee to kind of expand their skills, knowledge, and capabilities through moves that are not just straight up. Right. So, just like I mentioned earlier, maybe you have somebody who says, oh, ops is so interesting to me. I'd really like to learn more about that. There could be a path for them to go over in that lattice sort of formation. So, you think of a ladder going up, lattice going out, but there's always somewhere for someone to go or someone to come from into your organization. So one thing to think about is what is right for your organization, and it could be some combination of both of these things. So again, your ladder is designed for kind of that single role progression. You can think of it as resource manager from point A to point B. This might include a progression into that higher level, whether that's technical proficiency or leadership. Those are typically two different ladders. As some of you know, sometimes our most technical people are not the most suited to be management and vice versa. So it can be great to have options for folks who are, looking at leadership in one way and maybe technical proficiency in another. Ladders also have somewhat of a limited scope, again, because they really are just taking that one role and going up with it. Now, a lattice there is going to chart that path from one role to another similar role in a different area. So if you have a resource manager who would like to transition into ops, for example, that could be an example of something you would build a lattice for. These typically contain those transferable skills. And as Greg mentioned earlier, those foundational skills like soft skills, leadership, those types of things are very transferable, highly transferable, and also very valuable throughout your organization, regardless of what role someone is in. So a lattice is going to give you a little bit of a broader vision, and they are helpful for retention overall, because again, you have your folks who, if they feel stuck, they might feel like they need to leave your organization. So both of them are relevant, and you can use them in combination to create a career growth strategy that will help your organization retain people. So to be successful, you really need a well-rounded set of skills for resource managers. So we actually have, quite a few resources available for this, kind of a learner path here. And you can see we've highlighted some of the areas where we've got general business company knowledge, RM process knowledge, and professional skills. So that's where the RM soft skills are really, really key. And those are highly transferable, again, to a variety of different areas. So if you're thinking of something that is going to support both a ladder and a lattice from a training perspective, that is, a great choice. And then of course, practical application. So you need to incorporate those attributes as well. And we have some attributes that we're going to review here shortly that you can take in a building block concept and put those together to build upwards or outwards. So whether you are building, oh, go back, Greg. Sorry. So whether you're building vertically or horizontally, you can use these skill blocks, and they're going to help you identify the skills that are needed. So what we've created here is a list of skill blocks that apply specifically to resource management, but you can use this as a model to look at other roles that you might have to incorporate as part of your lattice structure. But these are foundational skills to advanced skills that then combine to achieve a level of competency. So our building blocks right now are in some different categories for skills. And again, these are specific to RMs. So there's skills inventory, staffing, forecasting, sourcing and development, technology, and governance. I have these color coded in this presentation to kind of go from basic to more expert. So you can see the color code there. And I'm just going to go through some basic skills here for these different areas. So for skills inventory, We want to know your supply, roles, and skills, learn about your resources, collaborate with functional managers to ensure skills data is current, facilitate change. I've got Greg's disease here, and ongoing improvement to role and skills data. We have a bunch of these. I would love to run through them with you, except I want to make sure we get to the rest of what we want to talk about. So, Greg, if you want to kind of just go through
Sure.
these briefly, and we get to the wrap up here for this. We're going to give you all a leave behind sheet that I think it has all of this information on it, which is why I'm asking Greg to kind of go through this here. But what you can do with these different building blocks is you can put them together in the different categories to create a growth and development plan that's tailored to an individual. You can also use them to create a ladder or a lattice for someone. So for example, this is just a lateral growth and development plan for somebody. So maybe this is someone who is transitioning from one role to another, but you can see how this kind of builds on itself. We have our basic level skills down here, our higher level ones going up. But if you think of this as a building block structure, you can mix and match and take these skill blocks and put them together in a way that makes sense for your organization and for individuals. So what I really want to hit on here, though, is going back a little bit to the data that Greg shared. The communication between individual contributors and their managers, or even a manager and their manager, we need to really have these career conversations. I think sometimes managers think that they're having these conversations, but the data is showing us that people are not getting that they're having these conversations. So as a leader, it's important to discern what your person wants out of their career. What are their career goals? Their goal might be different than maybe the potential that you see in them, and that is okay. The thing that's important to remember is that you as a leader need buy-in from your person to put them on some kind of career path or a trajectory, because you might be looking at somebody and thinking, oh my gosh, Greg, he could do all of the things, he can be this, that, the other thing, and Greg doesn't want to do that. Okay, so we need to make sure that there's alignment there with the person and what that leader is seeing. So it's key to work together on a plan. Also, as a leader, when you assign someone something, so going back, looking and thinking about those skill building blocks, maybe you're assigning somebody to something because you want them to grow in that certain area. It's really important to communicate that. And if you have that as part of your development plan with that person, you're saying, okay, this person wants to ascend to resource manager too. So we need to have these certain skills. You can say, we're going to be developing this skill while you're on this project, or I'm assigning you to this because I really want us to work on developing this particular skill. That's part of your plan. That's going to get you to the next level where you want to be. So that communication is so critical. You might think that they know. You in your head are saying, I'm assigning this to Greg because I want him to grow in this capacity, but he doesn't know that unless you tell him. So it's really important to have these conversations. You should also be having development conversations with your folks at least twice a year. And that doesn't have to be anything major or huge heavy lifting. Again, we're giving you a tool that you can use with your folks, but just have a conversation. Where are you at? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? What do you want to learn next? Those are all easy questions to ask that can really spark a great conversation. Another key thing too is that there are going to be individuals who are not seeking that upward or even lateral movement. They can still benefit from development planning because they can still grow in their role that they have. It's important to continue to build skills and provide them with opportunities to maybe mentor others or special projects. And even if that's just them staying in place, that's fine. That might be where they're at in their life. We all have different seasons where we are ready, maybe to grow immensely, or where we just need to kind of hunker down and stay where we are. So again, I want to bring back this slide. You as a leader may think you know and understand the available paths and growth and development plans, but if your leader is not having these conversations with you, so I'm speaking to my individual contributors here, or maybe even my managers and leaders who aren't having these conversations, you can start one. It's okay to do that. And sometimes your leader might need that little reminder that that's just something that they haven't had that conversation with you yet. But it is important to start one. That's part of advocating for yourself and ensuring that you are going to be staying engaged in your role. So I want to give you a little sneak preview to this worksheet. We've created a little self-assessment worksheet to help you determine your current level of competency in our core skill building block categories for resource management. And you can use this as a model for other roles that you may have. We encourage you to use this sheet as a personal resource, or it's something you can do with a manager or mentor. So it's designed to help guide career development discussions, and it helps you set goals. And there's also a little action tracker. So you can only see the first page of this, but it's actually 3 or 4 pages and has all of that stuff at the end. So we are going to send this out after the session to everyone who is in attendance today, and we hope that you find it helpful and something that you can model after for other areas.
Yeah, so some really awesome, cool stuff that maybe you weren't expecting when you came to today. Hey, I'm going to get something that I can actually use in
We're giving
practice.
you a
So
treat.
we're giving you
Yes.
stuff, so it's pretty cool. So let me kind of turn to the kind of the fourth turn here and start to walk through a little bit of what are some of them. Kira's talking about these paths, how we build, use the blocks to construct the plan. What are some of the resources that then we have available in the RMI? So when we think about some of the things that we have available, intro to RM, which is an opportunity to kind of build, maintain skills, understand how different sourcing options apply into resource management, to then you kind of move forward into the RMCP certification. That's where we're then really applying the fundamentals of jitter. We're starting to talk about characterizing supply and demand, role of technology, and things like that. That next step then starts to take you into the next level of development, which is really kind of focused on RM leaders as well as executives and understanding kind of the strategic nature of resource management. And not to mention that, these kind of in that order are probably the best way to flow through them. There's also resource management soft skills here as a baseline, which really can be established anywhere along your journey. And these are really cool. This really helps you kind of be effective, more effective in that job. As we talked about, the need for leadership skills, the need for the ability to adapt to change and things like that, and also communicate. That's where you start to really kind of pick up some of that information to help in your career progression, which is in the resource management soft skills training. A real quick engagement plan. We always get asked this, and this is kind of like, I would describe it as our yellow brick road of sorts for engaging with the RMI on the various materials and events that we have, starting with, connecting with us on LinkedIn if you haven't already. Join the collab community. It's a private community of just RMs to be able to exchange ideas. Read the various materials that we've got, whether it's the surveys, the various white papers, all the way into the events, which you're attending one of those right now, but then there's also others that are coming up. And then the resource center as well as the maturity model. And so we can obviously apply learnings from this webinar in our own use. So I took a stab at kind of that content and looking at, okay, well, how would our members consume this information that we're talking about? So when we think about resource managers, let's join that cloud community. Let's look at research reports. Let's start there. Let's pursue the RMCP. Then let's move up into more things that are going to broaden our thinking, whether it's thought leadership, white papers, events, as well as then as an RMO leader, I really want to start to dive into that maturity model and see where I land there. And so all of these things you'll see what's somewhat common is the events kind of sprinkled throughout. And so we've got one coming up. It's our virtual conference called RMI Connect. It's on September 23rd and the 25th. It's our 6th annual event. It's a really highly attended event. But I've got a little bit of a surprise here for you guys today. So for those of you that are attending here today, if you want to be a part of this, we're kind of doing a little raffle and we're going to be giving away some registrations to this event, but I need you to take some action. First, I need you to go and send an email to info@resourcemanagementinstitute.com and just simply type in the subject line, I want in. And we'll take a look at those and then we'll be in contact with the folks that have won those registrations, which I think are like maybe a $250 value. So take advantage of that while you've got it and take a look at that. As I wrap things up, I just wanted to remind that the Resource Management Certification Program, which we've talked about quite a bit, is not only part of Career Path, but also as a content piece that you certainly want to enter into. Those courses are available all the time, whether it's on demand or virtual online. And so we got actually a couple coming up if you're interested in actually listening to this session and going, I want to take that step. There's one coming up in October and then another in December 2nd that's a virtual led. There's also an on-demand version if you're one that just loves to do the study alone. There's an on-demand version that you can go through as well, and you can use this QR code over here on the right to help you register for that, or visit the site and look at resourcemanagementinstitute.com and look at under the training section. But before I wrap, I do want to give another big thank you to our sponsors, BI and Cantata. Links to each of their sites are shown here below. Both have great solutions that can serve this resource management community. So take a look at them when you can, explore them, and feel free to reach out to them via their site if indeed you have an interest or in that part of your journey where we're needing to adapt or change technology. But on behalf of Kira and myself, thank you guys so much for today and listening. I don't see any questions right now, but if perhaps you do, feel free to send something through the info@resourcemanagementinstitute.com email down below, and we'll get back to you on that. But we'll be sending out the career planning or career pathing document that Kira mentioned. We'll send that out afterwards. So again, thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you, Kira, for your time today. I'll
Absolutely.
do the
Thank you.
follow-ups with the questions. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.